And with respect to Venus, you have the archi. And the archi, on the other hand, he calls time spirits, zeitgeist beings, are linked with the entire planetary spirit of the times. They are in charge of these sort of planetary shifts that are going on all over the planet. So they have to do with the spirit of the times. Then you have the powers, linked with the sun. And then you just go out, and there's Venus, there's Mercury, and then, what is it, Mars? Mars. And then Mars is linked with the next hierarchy after the powers, the mites. And then Jupiter, that's linked with the next hierarchy after the mites, which are what? The dominions, yeah, okay. And then Saturn right up there, linked with the throne. And then he assigns the zodiac to the cherubim, and the seraphim he doesn't give a designation for. And so we have the sun-centered system there, but he's drawing it out this way, but that's the exact sequence of planets ascending this way vertically in the Ptolemaic system. And that's sort of how he reconstructs this sort of horizontally, consistent with this new sort of horizontal reconstruction of the great chain of being. He throws that in there. And I think he says this configuration was linked to the precession in the month of Gemini.
So the angels do not have a physical body, like when you say that
No, they don't
they're
have
connected with the sun, and you think of the blazing heat there.
Right.
It's an energy.
Yes, they're not even that. They're just within the spiritual dimension that's in the sun.
And yet
They don't have physical bodies, he says. The lowest body that an angel has is an etheric body. But they have all the other bodies going up from that, etheric, astral, the soul, and the spirit. They have all the others, but they don't have the physical.
And they have an individual, like a consciousness for each
Yes,
one?
yes, right. More of that will become clear as we look at the creation myth. And we'll see how everything evolves out of that. And it'll become clearer, the powers that they have and how everything works. The key thing about, as we'll see, just to give a sort of preview of it, is that Steiner's model of the great chain of being is an evolutionary model in the sense that everyone is in process of moving up into the next hierarchy. So that it turns out he has these planetary epochs which precede the Earth epoch. He says, just as we have reincarnated the Earth/solar system, really when he says the Earth, he means the entire solar system, has had these previous incarnations as before that there was old moon, before that there was old sun, and before that was old Saturn. These are earlier incarnations. And within each of these incarnations, the beings right now who are angels within the Earth epoch were human during the moon period. And the beings who are now archangels were human during the sun period. The beings who are now archi were human during the Saturn period. So he's going to end up saying at the beginning, the human was there first, along with the spiritual beings were there first, and they bring the human in. And all the other animal kingdoms, the animal and plant kingdoms, came second. They branched off from the human, in total contradistinction to the Darwinian model. But this is all going on within the spiritual world, not the physical world. The Kant-Laplace model doesn't come into effect until at the beginning of the Earth epoch, with the actual cloud of dust and gas swirling into being. All this is going on within the astral plane. And we'll see how these angels begin spinning this out. So he says the beings who are now human within the Earth phase, in the next planetary epoch, which he calls Jupiter, will become the angelic beings. All of us who are evolving in the reincarnation process and perfecting these upper sheaths will perfect them to such a point that we won't need to incarnate physically. We'll be out of that process and we'll be moving to the Jupiter phase. And then so on. So the whole model is evolving. And the solar system, as it moves, is actually this gigantic sort of vehicle for, let's see, Jupiter is followed by Venus, and the final phase is Vulcan. So he has 7 planetary epochs. And at the end of this, in the Vulcan phase, the solar system will be engulfed by the sun, and the whole thing will be finished. But the whole process will have been this process of transforming spiritual beings into human beings, and human beings back into spiritual beings with new faculties of consciousness that were not present in the beginning. And the goal of the moon epoch was the creation of wisdom. The goal of the earth epoch is the creation of love. And then he assigned certain goals for each of the future epochs. So that's the structural skeleton for the creation myth that we'll be looking at.
Did we see what started, what brought us to the Saturn process?
As we'll see, he just says that the beings that were there to begin with were the upper hierarchies. Well, all the hierarchies were there, I believe, but particularly the beings that are at the top, seraphim and cherubim, are beings left over from the formation of another solar system who have gone through the perfection process. So normally he only talks about our solar system. Really, the gigantic Einsteinian model of all these other galaxies hadn't come in yet. But I think that he would say that this is a process that's going on all through the cosmos, and each one of these solar systems spins itself into being, spins out these planets for the purpose of this spiritual process that's going on. And these beings are made, created, perfected, then they go, they move to another system. And it's going on all through the entire cosmos. And just to sort of show you notice that these correspond almost with the days of the week. That's intentional on his part. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Earth links, he says, with Mars, which is Tuesday, and Mercury, which is Wednesday. Wednesday in French is Mercredi. And then Jupiter is, of course, associated with Thursday, and Venus is Freya, the goddess Freya, for Friday. Vulcan's the only one that doesn't map on because you've got 2 for Earth, but he retains the 7 symmetry. He has this penchant for 7. Everything's got to come out as 3 or 7. Is very, classicistic in that sense, and going back to the ancients and sticking with 7. So the entire cosmos has this sort of 7 epochs that are miniaturized within the 7 days of the week. And then he'll say that, I'm just giving the structural outline, and we'll do after lunch, we'll do the myth itself. But the structural aspect is, during Saturn, the physical body was created. Although it was a spiritual physical body, and it was physical only to the extent that it conformed to laws, but it wasn't something that you could have seen with your eyes. But the physical body is constructed by these angelic beings. Then during the sun phase, the etheric body is constructed. During the moon phase, they bring in the astral body, so that we've received these bodies from these angelic beings. They've actually sacrificed substance from themselves to create these bodies within us. And I said it would get weirder as it went along. And then we have the earth phase, and we have the construction, the sort of differentiation and development of the ego during the earth phase. During Jupiter, we're going to have the spirit self developing. During Venus, the life spirit. And during Vulcan, the spirit body will develop. So he assigns each of these. And then he assigns the physical member to the mineral, and the etheric to the plant, and the astral to the animal, and all that, the egoic to the human. So that the first plant-like beings will come into being during the sun epoch, the first animal-like beings will come in during the moon epoch. Then he assigns the elements to these. Saturn is associated with fire and warmth, and that gradually will densify in the next epoch into air, gas, which is heavier than fire. Then in the moon epoch, it will densify into liquids, water, which is heavier than air. And then during the earth epoch, solids appear. So that as you move from the Saturn epoch to the earth epoch, everything gets denser and denser and denser. So that the whole solar system has sort of spun itself into being out of pure spirit that has gradually densified and gotten thicker and heavier. And so that's where we're at now. And then we'll go into the specific mythology in each one of those. But that gives you a sort of preview of what we're looking at.
One other question that I have is that if this is happening all over the universe, solar system, solar system, then still in the beginning there was something that set it all in motion.
Yes. Mm-hmm. These angelic beings.
Pardon?
These angelic beings.
The angelic beings.
Yes.
But where did they come from?
Well, he doesn't say.
Okay.
Other than the point about the upper hierarchies coming from another solar system.